Alright guys, Dwayne Lulu coming to you with Spots and Dots. So I got a part in for my motor. Trim switch on the motor itself. This is a 2009 F250. So trim switch won't go up. Will go down, but it won't go up. So we're going to go ahead and replace that. If you like this video, guys, by the time you finish watching it, hit me up with a subscription. If you like fishing videos, find some of my fishing videos, guys. I got plenty of fishing videos on this here channel, Spots and Dots. So anyways, give me a thumbs up if you like it. If not, I'm sorry. Sorry I couldn't help you out. So for those of you who want to watch it, enjoy. Alright, so here's the new trim switch right here. That's what it looks like. There's the part number. I always use genuine Yamaha parts when I'm working on something important like a motor. I don't like to go with any non-name brand stuff. Alright, so this is our new switch. And we're going to get the cowl off of this motor and put it on there. Alright, we got the cowl off. So if you're like me, you're a short fella, you may want to get you a little stool so you can get up on top of it. And before you kill the power to the motor, trim it down a good bit so you can get up on top of it, alright? But your part is going to sit right above where your trim switch is at. And you can see the two bolts right here. You got one right there and one right there. They're 10mm. Alright, so located where the switch is. Now first thing we're going to want to do, get this negative wire out the way. This is a ground. This is your major negative wire. Just comes into a ground right here. We're going to get that out of the way. Alright. But make sure you kill the power to this back here first. Alright. I got a battery switch. Easy enough for me. I just switch my battery to off. If you don't have a battery switch, disconnect your battery, guys. Alright. Got my negative battery disconnected. Got it sitting out here to the side. And the reason why I disconnected has nothing to do with power, really. It's just sitting right here close to this, the part you got to take out. So I just want to get it out and get it out the way. A little thing I like to do, so here's the bolt I took out. If I take a bolt out and I can put it back in where it came from, I'm going to put it back in where it came from. For one, I know I'm not going to lose the bolt. And two, I know where that bolt goes, alright? Just a little tip for you. If you can put it back in there and it's not going to be your way, go ahead and do that. That's just a good little deal to do. Alright, so next, we're going to take the manifold off. It's going to make this job a lot easier. And it is 6, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, so there's 9 bolts for this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and you got 2 at the top. 5, 6. You got 1 right here, 7. 1 right here, 8. And you got 1 in this bottom. Alright, that makes 9. The top one does not have a bolt in it. Alright guys, so 9 bolts. We're going to get that out the way. Alright, so these rear 4 bolts back here, they're 12mm, guys, 12mm. Alright, I got these 4 bolts out. Now, before you can completely take it off, you're going to have to take this top cover off. It just slides off, alright? There's nothing you have to unscrew. Just pick up on it and get it out the way. All the way around. Comes off. The reason why you got to take that off because you got to get these top 2 bolts. That one and that one right there. Alright, and all these bolts up towards the front are all 10mm. Alright, so I got all my bolts loosened. Most of them are removed. The last one is the one in this hole. Alright, you're going to need you an extension to get down in there. Once you break it free, you can take your ratchet off and just spin it with your hand on the extension itself. Just take it, spin it, and spin it till you think it comes out, because you're not going to be able to reach in there and grab the bolt and get it. So same thing with all the bolts actually. Once you break them free, you can just grab that tool, grab that extension and twist them, and they'll all come off. All right, so once you think you've backed it out far enough or completely out, go ahead and pull this off. But be careful you don't lose this bolt. All right, so pull it off and don't tilt this intake. Don't tilt it down, all right, for that bolt won't fall out. All right, so the top plastic shroud of that motor that we took off, so we can get to them 2 bolts on the top. This is what I use it for when I take it off. So these are the 4 big bolts that came off the back. They're all the same size, don't matter where they go. These are the 3 front bolts. They're all the same size, don't matter where they go back. These are the 2 top bolts, all right? So you can see the top bolts and the front bolts are different size, so make sure you don't mix them up. And the rear bolts are bigger, so that's that. I like to put them in there, just keeps them out of the way. That's how I do it. So now that's out of the way, we got access, better access to this, and more importantly, we're going to need to get access back here to unplug it where it's plugged in at. All right, guys, so we're going to get them bolts off of there and we'll go from there. Remember, these are also 10 millimeters. All right, we got them 2 bolts off, and now this right here, this is just a plate. All right, got that little plate out the way. So now all we got to do is come down here to the switch itself and just push it. All right, it'll come out the way. Now, if it's been in there a long time, it's never been taken out, it may be a little bit sticky. All right, guys, so just kind of push on it, or if you can get a little small screwdriver and just work around the seam, the edge where it butts up right there, just kind of, you know, give it a little bit of a pry. You don't want to ruin the gasket on it, but try to give it a little bit of a pry. You know, this one came out pretty easy, so that's all I did. I just pushed it. All right. Okay, so now I've got up in the boat. It's just going to give me a better angle to get to what I need to do next. So I took the switch itself, I just kind of pried it up a little bit, up and over here. But anyways, so here's your fuel filter. All right, so that part is going to be underneath here. All right, you got one right here on the left. That's not it. You got a little clip right here on the right. That little clip right there is it. All right, you're gonna have to unclip that and just pull that wire out. Pull the whole little harness out. It'll all come out. And once I get it out, I'll show you how to unclip it, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to hold this phone, get down there and unclip it. So once I get it out, I'll show you how to unclip it. All right, so what I did was I actually pulled a little slack to me from this thing. So basically it pulled this down in. I pulled this to me. All right, on the back side, you see this little groove? That's where it connects to there. So that's where you're gonna make sure you put that back on there. All right, so this is the clip that's not gonna come out, but the way you take it off is so the way you do it is where this clip is. So let's say this is the back of the clip. You just press down on it, all right? Press down and it pushes the front of that clip up and it releases. All right, it releases on that little indention right there. You see that little raised indention? It releases that. Once you get that, and we'll go ahead and pull this piece out. And hopefully it'll come out. Won't have to wiggle it around too hard. Yep, I'm gonna have to get back down there and wiggle a little bit more and work its way out of there. All right, guys, so it turns out I'm gonna do one more step. All right, so this is your power wire. I'm gonna have to go ahead and undo this power wire because it's just a little, just that wire right there is in my way of pulling that thing through the way I need to pull it through. There's a couple of little maneuvers you need to do down in there, but anyways, like I said, make sure your battery is disconnected or your power is turned off. All right, I've already broke these loose. They're 10 millimeter. I'm gonna take this wire and get it out the way. All right, got my power wire off and out of the way. So I pushed my power and my negative, got them pushed back out of the way back here, kind of underneath my fuel filter. But anyways, put my 2 bolts back in there like I told you I like to do. So there is a bracket sitting back here, right there where my finger is. That right there is up underneath there, and it's a bracket for the wires to run through. And I can't get a good angle on my phone. If you're doing this job yourself, you'll be able to see it. But this little bracket down here, it has to come out. It's 10 millimeters. I'm going to take it out and get it out the way, and that whole switch assembly will be able to come out. Alright, so here's that bracket, and that's how it sits down in there. The wires run inside there. Right, the wires go in between there and there. Anyways, I had to get that and get it out in order to get this piece out. So that's the last step, get that out, and then we just put the new one back in, put our wires where they need to be, and now we're going to go back to putting it all back together, guys. Alright, took me a minute, but I got that new piece back in there. Alright, so make sure it's in there the correct way. There's a little up and down on there, but a quick way to know is the wires will be at the bottom. Alright, your wires will be at the bottom of this deal. Now that bracket we had to take out, the harness for this actually runs under that bracket, and there's 2 wires that run through that bracket. So my bracket, I ain't got it back together yet, but make sure there's actually a wire harness, and there's like a hose. It's not even really wires, it's a hose. So those go inside the grooves of that bracket. And the trim switch that we replaced, the wire harness goes underneath it. Alright, there is a groove back there. It's like a V-shaped groove. Alright, so there's that V-shaped looking groove back there. That wiring harness runs to the right of that V-shaped groove. Alright, it goes to the right, and once you get past it, that's where you come from the other side and you just plug back in. And that little connector that the rest of the harness goes to is just on the other side back there. So once I get this straightened out over here, I'll go back over there and explain that a little bit better. Alright, so I got that bracket back in there. Got that hose coming across the top of it, and that 1 wire harness that was in there. So I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't think it would hurt to leave that bracket out. I don't think it's a big deal. But since it was on there, I'm going to go ahead and do it, because I don't want to show people the wrong way to do stuff. But just looking at it, I personally don't think it'd make one bit of difference if you kept that bracket out, guys. So that's just my opinion, my thought. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start putting it back together. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and put this plate back on, back over my switch. And that's just going to hold that switch in while I pull that wire and get it connected over there. It'll keep it from popping out on this end, because this plate is what holds that switch into that spot right there. So put that on. I'm going to put the bolts in it and tighten it down. Alright, got my plate on, got it tightened down. So now I'm going to go to the front of the motor, pull the wire harness through, and connect it back together again. Alright, so I pulled it through. There it is right there. Well, just moved. So anyways, it's pulled through. You saw it. I got it right here. Alright, so this little clip right here, down here, that's where the other half of this harness slides onto that. So make sure you remember to do that. But anyways, we'll go ahead and clip them 2 back together and put this side on this little clip right here. Alright, so got it clipped together. When you clip it, make sure you hear it snap in place. You'll hear it make a little click noise. When you hear that click, then it's in there. Alright, so down there you can see the little groove. Like I said, I'm fixing to put that in there. Now the way you take this off, the little groove is on the opposite side. So there's the little groove right there. I'm going to slide it onto there. Alright, so got it back in place. I'm going to try to show you that little V from this angle. Anyways, that black line right there is the trim switch harness. Make sure it's on the right side of that V as the motor is facing forward, and just pull it on up. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put my cables back on, my power cable right there, and my ground. Ground is right there, power is right here, so I'm going to go ahead and put them back on. I got my power and my ground back on. Alright, so again, power is 10mm bolts, ground is a 12mm bolt. Alright, so I will go back to putting the manifold back on, so that's going to be next, getting our manifold back on there. Alright, so I got my manifold. Before you put it back on, you check your gaskets. It's always a good idea to check your gaskets. Make sure they're in there flush. That way, when you put it on there, it won't go on there wrong. So, and if you want, you know, a lot of people, anytime they take this off, they want to replace them. So, if you feel better replacing them, then replace them. You know, it's totally your call. So, you go ahead and put it back on. Alright guys, so I got all but one of my bolts in, alright, and explain that. So I got my rear bolts in. What I like to do is I like to get them in there. I like to put them all on there a little bit first. Once I get them all on, all the way around, your bottom one here, your top one there, your top one up here, your top one over there, right there. The only one I don't put in is the one in the hole, because it's pretty much the hardest one to try and get lined up. So I like to get everything else on, and once I get them all on and I get a little bit of a thread going, I'll go ahead and take my little extension wrench or whatever and put them on there and turn them all to finger tight. Okay, and the last one here, I just turn them all the way down to, or really I can't turn any more with my fingers, and then that's going to line up the one with the hole as best as it's going to get. And I'm going to go ahead and put that one in there and tighten it down by finger also. Get me a longer extension and get it in there. Alright, so I got it in there. I got it down finger tight. Now I'll go ahead and tighten everything down with the ratchet wrench and be good to go. But like I said, I like to do this one last just for that reason. It just makes it a whole lot easier to go in there with that extension and put it in there. So we'll get all these tightened down. And remember, the one in the hole, 2 up front, 2 on top, 10mm, 4 in the back, 12mm. Alright, so we've got them all snug down. I do not have the specific torques on them. I just tightened them down a pretty good bit. I've taken this thing off quite a few times, so I kind of know where it's at. I do, you know, if you want to look up the specific torques on them, that's awesome. I just tighten them down pretty good bit, you know, and just be careful not to strip them. So next we're going to put the top back on. Got it down here, just pop that back on. Alright, so we got that top cover back on. So like I said, this just pushes on. You see all the little different areas there, it just pushes down onto everything. This right here is like a little groove. It just slides down on top of that nut or bolt, slides down on top of that one, slides right here, and at the top it's the same thing. Everything, it just presses down. So that's not difficult to do. So next, all we got left is put the cowl back on. So got my I took this off, got it out the way. this trim, this gasket trim. So I'm going to get that back on, get it in place, and put the cowl back on. Alright, got my trim all the way back around. You make sure you get that trim down on there good, alright guys. There's a groove. You got to work that into all the way around. Make sure that groove, make sure this trim is pressed all the way down inside that groove all the way around. Alright, that's an important thing. It keeps that salt water from getting in there. So go through there and do that and get your cowl back on. Alright, so even before you put your cowl back on, you make sure your release tabs are open. Alright guys, so you got one on each side, one in the front. Alright, so you've been working on the motor, so they've probably been pushed in to get out of your way. Make sure you open them back up and get that cowl on there snug and close it up. Lock it down. Alright, got it all on there, got it all done, and now got the power back on. Now I got a motor that goes up, guys. How about that? Yay! Alright guys, so that's replacing the trim switch on 2009 Yamaha F250. So hope y'all liked it, hope y'all learned something, hope this helps somebody out. Till next time, Spots and Dots is out.